Boa tarde, rapaziada. Estamos começando mais uma transmissão do Town Hall. Espero que vocês estejam bem. Vamos curtir aí essa tarde de Star Atlas hoje. Torcer para grandes atualizações, né? Grandes surpresas. Uma transmissão. Isso aí. Vamos ver o que é que o Star Atlas tem para nos oferecer nessa tarde. Eu convido a vocês a deixar aquele like, que geralmente quando tem live assim, ela não é monetizada, então agradeceria se vocês deixassem aquele like, que não custa nada para vocês, mas me ajuda bastante, beleza? Estamos começando aí, vamos começar, estamos no horário já, limite. Vou colocar a tela para vocês. E aí a gente vai transmitir esse evento. GM.
Check. Mic check. I know everybody is going to tell me I'm muted, but I will do mic check anyways. Muted.
Is Santi muted for anyone else?
Dude, last time I actually had issues, so please don't. Don't do
Porra, o
that.
Michael tá no estilo aí, viu? Gostei do estilo do Michael aí.
Time, but you kind of baited it out of me there.
Nice.
Legal.
Santi.
Good morning, Michael.
Good
To
morning.
be on stage again with you, sir. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Here we are. Third event in 2 weeks. Really, it's probably what, the 6th or 7th event. We had the whole community week kicking off Star Atlas Summer, but happy to be here. We have a handful of exciting updates to share. I'm getting my last few crafts in right now on HoloSim before we really kick things off, but feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a wild Star Atlas summer, super intense. One town hall every 2 weeks plus community week. It's been, I think, the most intense month ever in Star Atlas, the most active month we ever had, with updates on almost every product pipeline, if not every single one, actually. So super excited for this last one as well. I think we've kind of been downplaying it a little bit, but at the end, a lot of things came together, and this one is going to be a great one.
Tá tudo certo aí pra vocês?
Yeah, completely agree. This town hall agenda will be more of a comprehensive overview of everything across the Star Atlas ecosystem. We actually aren't covering anything Zinc here today, but I think that announcement went well. We had the brew the following week, answered a bunch of questions. Seems to be pretty well received, Santi. I think there's a lot of excitement out there.
Yes, absolutely. I think we also had that brew that clarified a lot of the questions, but overall, I think everybody is excited about Zinc. For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, guys, we have the third town hall. I think we should spend 1 minute to appreciate the mustache that Michael is rocking today. Look at that. I think
Yeah.
Brian pointed it out in the chat, but looking good, Swag. Looking good, man.
Yeah, where's Carlos, man? I hope he's here to appreciate this.
Trump Carlos, man. Where is Trump Carlos? We need a mustache competition.
I'd lose. He has probably decades of experience on me. Not to age him, but I'm sure he has more experience than I do.
People are saying Drum Wagner.
Yeah, I might have to update my handle. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. But yeah, I think we can get straight into action here. As always, we would like to do some noteworthy news to kick off the town hall. A lot has been going on, especially from the community side. The first thing that we wanted to share here is the Iris Quest. We wanted to give a shout out to everybody involved with Iris Quest. If you don't know what it is, it's a Star Atlas tournament. That it was a massive effort from everyone involved. The Chimera guys, Bohemian, Morango, Neo Armstrong, all the teams that participated. It was a fantastic event, fully community driven. We had 14 teams.
155 pessoas até agora. Legal. Tá ruim não.
A couple things here and there. We got out. We lost to the champion and then to Kimmer Alpha, who
Mas
played
pelo
really
que eles
well.
falaram aí, não vai ter
But
tanta novidade, eu acredito,
I think we need
nesse Town Hall,
new
não.
team captain. I'm calling for a mutiny.
No way. No way.
Tomara que eles falem sobre o C4, velho. Eu
We'll
quero
get
saber do
it
C4,
fixed,
pô.
you know. Some games we do great, some games we don't. We'll get it fixed. But yeah.
Man, some of the new teams that joined absolutely cracked. Really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bohemian, for posting the brackets there. Again, this was a fully community-driven effort. Even was live streamed at Comet, which is going to be my next shout out. So Iris Quest connected with the Comet guys, another fully community-driven and funded, because that came from the DAO initiative, where the guys from the Stratos community in Germany hosted an event called Stratos Comet during Gamescom, and it was overbooked. Like there was a lot of people that wanted to go there. I think more than 70 people showed up that day. Shadix was on stage, Kiwimi, Funcracker, Drum Carlos. It's just amazing to see how much the community engages with Star Atlas and how much initiative it's also being taken by the community. So shout out to the Comet guys as well, Iris Quest. We love that. We love to see that. And last but not least here, if you're interested in participating in community tournaments for the UE5 game, we have the Gallia Cup starting September 1st. So I shared the link in the chat in case you want to register a team. This is a fully community-driven league as well. I think it lasts 1 or 2 months. You play the matches async, so you need to find. It's not like Iris Quest, which it's everything in one weekend. You have to play against the teams whenever the both teams can play, so it's different. But also community driven. There are prizes in there. Star Atlas will be providing some prizes for people, for the winners. So if you want to play in a more of a league style, you can get on the Star Atlas Gala Cup for, I believe, the 4th season that they're hosting it. So link is in the chat. You can go and join there if you want to participate. So amazing to see the ecosystem so alive right now, Michael. I think overall it's been great. Activity has been accelerating.
Yeah, I think it's
Ainda não teve
a
nada
beautiful sight. It's what we want to accomplish.
de atualização, eles só estão falando aí dos jogos que eles estão fazendo.
For Star Atlas, I think it's really cool seeing a lot of
Do shooter.
get passed through.
Mas nada de atualização ainda. Só a apresentação mesmo.
Funding for community meetups, events. I think it's a great use of capital within that DAO treasury. I did want to say a special thank you to the team behind Iris Quest, Brujo, Neil Armstrong, Marengo. They were all streaming for 8 hours, I think, on Sunday, and I know there were events leading up to that. I saw Brian mention that the sponsors didn't get a shout out. I think it's exceptionally cool that there were sponsors from the community going into that event as well.
Absolutely.
One of the things we talked about this week, Santi, that I think is also really cool is just seeing with that release of with that latest release in Unreal Engine and all of this competition that's coming up organically in the shooter mode, seeing teams from outside of the core Star Atlas community start to join. Tokenize 360 is one that just comes immediately to mind, and I also think it's really cool that they sponsored that tournament with a $500 USDC cash pool.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So not only are we growing outside of this core audience here today, but they're coming in, they're contributing value, they're being deeper participants, they're sponsoring these events. I think that that's all very encouraging with respect to the future growth of Star Atlas itself.
Yeah, for sure. That's another thing that we've been noticing, how much the community is having an impact also in Star Atlas growth and breaking that echo chamber that we've been talking about. As you point out, like this new thing started happening where the community is running initiatives, events, and stuff like that, and people from outside the native Star Atlas ecosystem are starting to join. So like the T360 community, Solana Gaming participated. I think Coexis was streaming together with Subasa, which is a Turkish content creator. from natives, we had KeplerNet and Yamik streaming the full event in Spanish. So it's just amazing to see how everything is plugging together externally as well. So we're reaching new levels of cohesion when it comes to community and ecosystem growth and initiatives together with external parties. So it's amazing to see everything maturing.
It is super cool to see.
Yes. With that said, we can move to the main topics for today. We'll have a couple guests join us on stage as always. And we will start today with the product that almost everyone has been playing lately. You all know about it. We will be starting with the HoloSim product. And for that, we're going to have Xcode join us on stage. So Xcode, if you can raise your hand. There we go. Welcome to the stage, good sir.
Hi, Santi. Hi, everyone.
Welcome, my friends. Great to have you on stage.
Welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be
Santi,
here.
I broke into the top 100 over the weekend, but I've since fallen down in the rankings. But with some of the updates that came out this week, I'm hoping to get back in that top 100.
Yeah.
Yes.
I dropped out of the top 400 fixing all the bugs. So I'm excited to get back in the top 400.
The sacrifices we make, John. The sacrifices man, for the community.
For the community.
All right, I'll
awesome.
drop off for a bit and let you guys take it away.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so where do you want me to start? Do you want to start with the roadmap, or do you want to talk about state of things?
I think we can talk a little bit about the state of things. I know that some people have been kind of worried about the infra instability and some of the issues that they have been encountering. So just sharing a little bit what we're doing to address that, I think will be great.
Okay. So you'll see when we do get into the roadmap, you'll see where we're at with stability fixes. But if we go back in time to the open beta, we could see that the systems in place and the player load that we had was already at its limit. And so we began replacing the Starcom v2 infrastructure with direct RPC calls. And for those that don't know, that's the same technology that guys like that everyone else in the Solana ecosystem uses. And when you see Sly Tools working and Sage struggling, they're using direct to RPC. So we're using that infrastructure. That infrastructure wasn't as great when we first started building Sage, and now it's a lot more mature, and it's actually the better choice for HoloSim. So we are systematically replacing every little bottleneck that we can find with Starcom with direct to RPC connections. That just means we're getting data straight from the chain through the AtlasNet RPCs. Those will eventually be the Zinc RPCs, and those are controlled by us. So so the bottlenecks that you guys were seeing were player load, overloading every single piece of our infrastructure at some point. And so we would fix one thing and the next thing would break, and we'd fix another thing and the next thing would break. And we got to a point yesterday night where we've taken enough of the Starcom infrastructure out that it can now handle the load that's left there, and everything else is coming through RPC. So crafting is working as usual. The Starbase accounts are being loaded properly. The route manager and the automations have all the bandwidth they need. And now the game is back in this awesome playable state. It's not to say that we're not going to continue. We are going to continue replacing that until we have everything on RPC. And that's because we plan to grow the player base 10x, right? And so every single piece of the infrastructure is going to need to scale, and we're going to continue with that effort. So,
yeah. And John,
now,
just to clarify here, like all these improvements and all the testing that is happening right now is also helping test the load that C4 will get whenever we release it, right?
Exactly.
So these improvements and this testing is also helpful for the long term.
Yeah. So it's really healthy to see these kinds of player load with HoloSim, and it means that the C4 product and eventually Fleet Command and those other products are going to have this battle tested infrastructure behind them. So I'm gonna try sharing my screen. My computer crashes when I turn the screen share off. So when I stop sharing, I'll disappear for a little while, but I'll come back. So I'm just gonna start sharing here. And we'll do this screen. You guys can just tell me if you
I'll
can see this
turn my camera
roadmap.
off.
Sure.
Let's see.
So I just want to cover.
Working. Yep.
It's working? Okay.
Yep.
So just to cover anything green in the top line, those are the finished pieces of the open beta. Anything that's yellow is still a work in progress. And anything that's gray is
Verde
planned.
está terminado
And I
e
arranged it
amarelo
top to
está
bottom so you
em
can see where we're
progresso.
going with things. So I think it's worth covering a summary of the features that we added in HoloSim really quick. We had this idea of a contract race, this faction-wide initiative. We delivered the MVP combat. The MVP combat log, no one ever saw, but we did develop it, and we could see in text in the background what was happening by the end of the season.
John, if you can zoom in a little bit in the ones you're talking about, would be great.
Fala, Alexia, beleza? Abraço da Rússia? Caramba, tá longe, hein? Um abraço. Quanto é que tá dando aí de temperatura? Tá quente? Tá frio?
Down into the completionist award that's now sponsored by Soulflare, and the leaderboard awards that Automata is providing for players in Season 1, Chapter 1. The next big thing was the route manager and then the refresh at the end of the season there. This ongoing piece is the migration from Starcom V2 to RPC. And then the Sage AI initiative, faction chat, and the crafting UI refresh, those were all planned and effective, and they're just going to continue on as they are. And then if we come down here to what we're working on actively, we're still updating the contract race and win condition UI so that you guys can follow along with your progress and see who's going to win. We're going to set a...
Ah, que bom que tá quente então, né? Rússia é bem frio. Eu imagino que mesmo quente aí, à noite faça frio, né?
The territory control MVP is underway. You can attack star bases, and you can actually capture star bases currently.
Você tá em qual lugar da Rússia?
So those are what's in progress. The Battle Pass MVP, there's been really great user acquisition numbers on the Battle Pass. Last I saw, we had a 26% conversion rate of people who play HoloSim and finish the first quest. 26% of those convert to Battle Pass purchase.
Mas tá quente o coração que está Atlas. Aí sim, pô. Aí sim.
A really great testimony as to how much people like to play HoloSim. I also, if we're going to speak about numbers as well, I believe we had like top of funnel 7,000 people create accounts, which translated into about 2,500 people completing the first quest, and about I'm going to get the DAU number wrong. Let me get the DAU number.
It was around 1,400 last I saw.
Yeah. Okay. So 1,400 average. Yeah. There we go. Thanks, Chris. 1,429 DAUs. So one of our strongest DAU numbers across all our products. Yep. Okay. So what are we doing next? So, better not. I don't want to zoom out too far. Don't want to go too far. No alpha here. Okay. So chapter 2. What would chapter 2 look like? So we're discussing a content update that builds on what chapter 1 is. And we're trying to do that from a perspective of not making everybody go through everything all over again and adding content at the same time. And so the idea that we landed on right now is that when you finish chapter 1, we will take some time to build out the chapter 2 content pack. And then when we deliver that, players will be given a starting pack of ships and resources so that they don't necessarily need to, you will need to go back through the chapter 1 content, but you'll do it from the perspective of somebody who's already well established. You'll have all your routes and things set up, and that is to focus on the territory control aspect of Chapter 2, to get you into the capital and commander ships much sooner.
Que é Balakovo? Caramba, perto do Cazaquistão. 22 e 18, caralho. Aqui são 3 horas da tarde. Segue firme no Town Hall. É isso aí, sim. É isso mesmo. Quartou. Colombiano? Ah, seu português tá bom. Dá pra entender tudo.
Your faction would only start with its safe zone bases, and you'd need to expand, and you need to take over the medium risk bases. And as you take over those medium risk bases, you get points toward the win condition. Starbase upgrades would move from the existing system of these complex built resources to.
Você tá jogando Holocene?
And so it would simplify the process of Starbase upgrading. And then Starbase upgrading would be part of the win condition. We'd have the enhanced battle UI and all the other things that we've been improving through the beginning of Chapter 1 here. We're also planning to experiment with microtransactions and see how that fits in our ecosystem. Not to say that it's a main focus yet, but we definitely want to have an opportunity to sandbox that and try that out. And again, if we just come back over here, the Starbase upgrade system and LP system would get a refresh with that as well. So those are the main things coming forward. Actually, if I just wanted to leak a little bit here, the Battle Pass would eventually become the Zinc subscription. I know Zinc is a big piece of what we're doing going forward. So you can see how what we're building with the Battle Pass ties into that. It's setting the stage for that. And then the work that we're doing on territory control would lead into this idea of ultimately into an NPC faction. So you'd have the three main factions, and you'd have an NPC faction that you could do PvE content against or along with, depending on how you look at it. So I won't go into any more detail there, but that's kind of our dream for maybe what we begin the second season. And also, it may be worth mentioning we could do a third chapter and a fourth chapter if there was room for it before we got into season 2. So just wanted to mention that as well. Also, I have a really quick. This is really cool. Chris sent me this. This is a map of all the combat encounters in Chapter 1, and you can see where the star bases lay underneath them. Lots of combat activity already, even in the first few weeks, even with the bugs that we've seen. So it's really cool to see this. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Tá legal, morou 2 anos no Brasil.
So there was some drama, I think.
Esse é o meu segundo lar. Ah, legal, cara. Muito bom. Jogando sim. Eu estou no posto número 421. Estive no 76. Caramba, que deu erro no meu jogo, estragou tudo. Caramba, você tava avançado, hein? Pô, eu queria umas dicas aí do Holocene. Não tô jogando não, mas quero começar.
So right now with this direct to RPC infrastructure, you guys did not want to overload the RPCs, so you have it cycling through. I believe there's a queue system on user transactions. It does mean that not all of your route manager and automation is working as efficiently as it could. Can you speak to that at all? Are we going to start maybe increasing the throughput a little bit there so that things again flow more efficiently?
Yeah, okay. So currently the route manager is a serial action. And so the route manager looks at a fleet and it takes that fleet through an entire cycle. And then it goes to the next fleet and takes that fleet through an entire cycle. And doing that means that the RPC is not getting multiple sets of data about star bases, multiple overlapping things happening at the same time. So it can be improved by parallelizing that stuff, and it's just a little bit lower priority than actually replacing the other pieces RPC infrastructure first, and getting the combat log ready for later in the season when combat really ramps up. Yeah, so it's definitely something on my radar. It just things were working so good yesterday, I just didn't want to break it right away. So, and there are some delays in it, and the logic isn't perfect either, but it's certainly. So the goal of the route manager this season was to reduce logistical complexity, and it does that. People have 10 times the amount of resource generation with the same amount of work that they did last season, and so even though it's not perfect across the board, I can see resource generation is way up, and people are able to move out of the loop of mining and transporting and into combat and scanning and territory control. And that's where we wanted it to be. So it might seem a little clunky, but it's definitely serving the purpose that we wanted. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Thank you, John.
Thanks. All right, I'm going to disconnect, and if I crash, I'll be back in a bit.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks.
W
Thanks for the
code. I
updates.
like that. W codes in the chat instead of X code.
Yeah, Santi, before jumping into the next segment, I think just because we're here covering some updates to HoloSim, and I did actually see a question out there from it might have been Funcracker. I kind of lost it in all of the W codes in the chat, but I just want to cover high level again some of the product goals of HoloSim. Now, really started as a kind of a skunkworks pet project, but I think it's evolved quite nicely into a very attractive user onboarding system for us. And so let's start there. First and foremost, we wanted a highly simplified user onboarding experience into Star Atlas. One that is a very low financial barrier to entry, which in this case is completely free, with that optional battle pass, of course, if you want to buy that. But this is a completely free way to get into the Star Atlas Sage game systems, whereas we know that with Sage, there's a relatively high financial barrier to entry to really operate efficiently within Sage and be able to participate in that play to earn economy. And so not forcing people to spend thousands of dollars on game assets before having some experience in Sage, we thought was pretty important. So that was number one. Number two was really eliminating any of the blockchain elements, or at least abstracting or obfuscating those from the end users. I won't go on my typical philosophical rant of how important I think those things typically really are, but from my perspective, I genuinely think it's important that we educate, inform, and teach people how to use crypto and communicate the benefits of having exposure to the wider crypto ecosystem outside of Star Atlas once we get people in. I said I wasn't going to go on my rant, and then I did it anyway. But I think that's very important. I can't emphasize enough the significance of that to me, but at the same time, we still want to create experiences that don't scare people away. Right. And so by hiding the blockchain and the wallet creation in browser all under the surface, that means that not only crypto native people, but a more traditional mainstream audience can get access to this, start playing, and not have to deal with setting up a wallet or a wallet adapter in your browser. And so generally speaking, we believe that HoloSim can bring a much wider audience into Star Atlas at in a much easier fashion. That leads to the extension of, well, what are the implications for the Star Atlas mainnet economy? Like, what about Sage? And I do want to be clear, we're not pivoting in any way to, free to play game studio. This is really a tool that we think will help attract new people to the ecosystem. I do believe that there's going to be some amount of user conversion onto Sage mainnet. And actually, if I go right back to HoloSim, just one of the other benefits are things like the tutorial system, the faction chat, the mission and questing system. All of these are tools that are designed to teach people how to play the game. Those systems are not in Sage right now. So Sage is high financial barrier to entry and also very complex and steep learning curve on figuring out how to play. If you haven't been around for the last couple of years and you're not in Discord, there's no intuitive way to get into Sage and just start playing. You really have to do some research to figure out how to optimize and play. And so we can remove all of that, get people into HoloSim, teach them the core mechanics of Sage, and better prepare them for a migration into Sage mainnet if that's something that they're interested in. If they want the real cash economy access, well, obviously that the potential of earning from any assets is significantly higher when you're operating in Sage itself. So I think there will be some conversion, but this isn't about achieving high conversion numbers. We don't need 100% of the users that are in HoloSim engaged in Sage. And so that leads to really the final point, which is we do see this as a great opportunity to create a new revenue stream for Automata, for the studio. We've seen the traction. John covered the numbers. Chris shared some of the numbers. A very high conversion rate on purchasing this battle pass, which is also encouraging for us should this product scale to 100,000, 200,000 or more users. And that's without covering ambitions of having a mobile version of this on the app stores ready and accessible. But growing a large user base there creates revenue streams for us. That obviously helps us achieve funding requirements that we then use to continue building the wider vision of Star Atlas. So all of those things are really product goals of HoloSim. And it's just, it's really cool to see the adoption from our existing community, but seeing us start to branch out to a wider Web3 audience, and then hopefully soon enough reaching a mainstream audience. I'll close with one final piece here, which is historically I probably would not have shared, but for the purposes of this town hall, I will cover it, which is this alternative revenue stream, I think, creates a unique opportunity for us to drive value back into the HoloSim product, but also back into the tokenomics of Star Atlas itself, of Atlas and Polis. One way we could do that, and this is purely hypothetical right now, but one way that we could potentially achieve that is taking, say, 20% of the revenue that comes off Battle Pass purchases and funneling that into the seasonal or the chapter-based reward pool. So the more people that sign up for the Battle Pass, the larger the cash pool is that goes into the competition. That is like the leaderboard rewards for HoloSim. A second thing that we could potentially do is also leverage some of that revenue to repurchase tokens out on the open market. If nothing else, it leads to us being able to eliminate our own token sales, which we use as pretty critical cash flow mechanism right now across the company. So anyway, that was much longer than I really expected it to be, but I wanted to cover high level. What are the product goals? What do we want to achieve here? And what are the implications for both the players in HoloSim, but again, that wider Star Atlas ecosystem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And also, just the numbers speak for themselves. So you covered it already, but holding well over 1,400 daily actives, 350 battle passes sold with the current infra issues that we're facing just speaks to the potential that this product has. Also, the approach that the team is having with it, I think it's the right approach. I am for sure biased from the community side, but I think it's perfect to be like Xcode is, for example, in the chat, where we release something, get feedback in real time from people, and you can see that feedback being translated straight into the product in real time, basically, which I think leads to a very effective way of creating an MVP that can hit a product market fit faster than anything else. So that flexibility is great to see in a product that we have. So also super excited on that end.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of shipping relentlessly and iterating.
Uma dica que o Lex está dando aí pro HoloSim é você focar primeiro aí nos R4 primeiro, né? No combustível, comida e munição. Tem que fazer muito e depois começar a desenvolver a história. Vou fazer isso, vou usar a sua dica. Tem muito cuidado com o negócio de IA na automação de frotas. Muito erro. Agora, você está usando o que? Você está usando o Sly ou você está usando a automação do próprio HoloSim?
This is also a proving ground and a test bed for the mechanics that are coming in Sage, combat systems that are coming in Sage, for example, your first opportunity to engage in those is in this HoloSim product. So all of this leads to a very virtuous feedback cycle, not only with the HoloSim product and user acquisition, but also how it guides our development decision making on Sage C4 and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, we talked about HoloSim, but we can now talk about Starbase, right, Michael? I think we have some updates for Starbase.
We do. It's I'll say this is a smaller segment. We don't have any visuals to share here. We can post some of these notes after the town hall. Otherwise, I'd say break out the pen and paper or your favorite note-taking tool to capture some notes here. But what we do realize is that Starbase, the current version of Sage, is getting a bit long in the tooth, especially from the economic perspective. Starbase core gameplay mechanic focused on mining resources, crafting components and compounds, and installing those into Starbases so that you can upgrade them. Obviously, that goes into the LP loop, the loyalty point structure, which then determines daily Atlas emissions out to all of the players participating in that. So we have a nice little update. And let me take a sip of water here, Santi.
Yeah, for sure. Very much needed. We still have a lot to go, Swag, so you may need to get a refill on that glass.
Yeah. I haven't even spoken that much so far. But we do have a nice little update that we're going to be rolling out. The team is actually working on deploying it as we speak. It's likely to be available today, but that depends on how the deployment goes. But this is something that we're calling the Infinite Starbase update. And what we'll be doing is adding a single, what we're terming as a phantom starbase, adding a single phantom starbase into each one of the factions. This is going to sit somewhere on the border of the safe zone and the medium risk zone within each faction. These starbases will start at tier 1. But on the back end, because all of the starbases currently in Starbase are have progressed beyond level 1, we're going to be modifying the upgrade recipes across all of these new Phantom Starbases so that they are effectively infinite. They're effectively perpetual. You can deposit as many upgrade materials and components to these as you can craft. Essentially, they won't be able to progress beyond level 1. They'll never reach level 2. They will be stuck at level 1. But you can install any of the upgrade components from any of the existing Starbase upgrade recipes. So all the way up to tier 5, all of those components, all of those compounds can be installed. There's also going to be 2 undisclosed new resources. We'll be chatting about that a bit later in the town hall, so I won't cover those here. And I would note that Chris is as always, Chris and Gareth are doing their work on balance. So they'll be continuously monitoring and assessing the LP value of each of those resources and trying to encourage players to diversify and not just focus on a single resource that is the most optimal, that generates the maximum amount of LP. But that balancing will take place in the background as usual. And I guess the other final real key piece here is that these are ephemeral starbases. So we have some kind of fun ideas in lore that these phantom starbases have arrived from an alternative dimension, and ultimately they are going to go away when we get into C4. So these are exclusively resource sinks for the purposes of Starbase. As we know that almost all Starbases are going to be tier 5 in Starbase, or they're getting very close at this point. And so these will not persist through to C4. They're only going to exist in Starbase. Otherwise, again, something that we'll discuss a bit later, but I just wanted to emphasize that there is a benefit for all of the factions that are currently upgrading their Starbases, and that is that any Starbase that has been upgraded to tier 5 will become a king system, a king Starbase in C4, and all of the other core systems and Starbases are going to be tier 1. So for any region that has the king system and has the tier 1 core systems, you will have regional control over that region going immediately into C4. So don't want to cover too much more there. We have a segment dedicated to this later, but we're pretty excited about this. And then we have some other ideas on how we can continue to enhance and modify and improve Starbased as we continue our development efforts towards C4.
Yes, sir. Some people are Googling ephemeral.
It just means temporary.
Yeah. Okay, so good updates there, Michael. I think it was very much needed for Sage to keep going for the economy. So
Yeah,
Sage
this
players, get ready.
Yeah, I see King Shred asked a question. Yes, it is turned in for LP. This is so we can keep the LP system active in the game. If all of the Starbases were upgraded to tier 5 and there was no opportunity to craft materials to upgrade Starbases, then the entire LP loop would simply be depositing food into Starbases, and we don't want to see that happen. So this is a new infinite sync Starbase that we're adding to the game.
Perfect. Okay. No more FICs, Katir is asking.
Fix are still going to be in the game, though we have ongoing discussions about whether or not we transition out of those or not. I think if we were going to make a move to remove Fix, it wouldn't be in the immediate term. There's probably a phase out as we start to approach C4. But otherwise, again, there's some other mechanics that we're thinking about adding to Starbased. I guess I'll tease out, there's some considerations on adding combat systems to Starbased. Don't want to commit to that. It's just early discussion, but should we move in that direction with some additional updates to Starbased, then we can probably consider phasing out Fix over time and focusing exclusively on a more comprehensive LP loop and earnings mechanic.
Perfect. Okay, that covers it, I think. So we can get moving to the next topic, unless, Michael, you have something else to add here.
I'll just answer one more question. That was Mendizo asked what the timing is. The team is working on deploying it right now, so it's potentially out today. If we run into issues, it could be tomorrow or later, but I think we'll probably get it today. We haven't ever deployed a program update of adding a new Starbase into the game, so we're just not certain how that will go right now.
Okay, so now we'll move to the next segment. We'll have two guests on stage for this one, and this is more developer-oriented for a new initiative that we're about to release. So we'll have on stage Brian from our team. Brian, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, doing well.
First time.
Thanks for having us. First time, yes. Sammy should be joining us. He might be looking for his speak on stage button.
Yeah, figuring out how Discord works right now.
Yes. So Sammy, welcome to the stage. Also first time at the town hall, I believe.
Yes, or at least on stage.
Yes, perfect. So if you guys don't know them, they're both from our blockchain team, two OGs. You guys been with the company for years now, right? So little introduction for you guys here, so the community gets to know you. But we can go straight into business, guys, if you want, with this, so we can explain a little bit what we have been cooking from the blockchain side at Star Atlas.
Yeah, hey, just really quickly, it would be great for getting an echo there.
Yeah. Brian, you should, if you can stop screen sharing right now.
Jumping the gun, sorry.
Yeah. You need to click, when you click on share your screen, click on applications and only share the application, because if not, we get some echo, or just mute the screen as well. That could also be. But yeah, Michael, you wanted to cover something?
Yeah, I was just going to say just a really quick introduction of yourself and what you guys do on the team, and maybe share how long you've been working with the team as well. That'd be helpful context for getting into this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Brian. I've been working on the blockchain side of Star Atlas specifically since 2020, I guess 2021. Was it July of 21 that we really started this? But yeah, I've been here since the early days. Worked on like faction enlistment and score back in the day, and working on C4 and the exciting things we have underway currently.
Yeah, I'm Sammy. I've been here since it's 2.5 years. I think I don't know. It's been 2.5 years about. I work on the blockchain side and sort of all over the place. Anything Rust, mainly Starframe for the past couple of years, which you guys will be seeing soon.
Nice. Awesome. So now we can get into business. Brian, I don't know if you want to try the screen share again.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see.
Can you guys see? Can you guys hear?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So, without further ado, for those of you that aren't aware, we are building a pretty complicated Solana program here with Star Atlas. I wouldn't say that Sage is the most complicated Solana program. I can't speak to that, but we are definitely the largest Solana program. You know, we've got 30, 40 plus different accounts that we manage. We've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 Solana instructions. So this program that we're working with is super complicated, and we have been writing it with Anchor. For those of you that are familiar with Solana development, the bespoke framework up till now has been Anchor, and we have been using that. It's been great, but really Anchor was created when Solana was a little less mature, and it was really created for simpler applications for getting developers up and running quickly. And as Sage has grown in complexity, we've quickly pushed into the boundaries of what's possible with Anchor. We started forking and making our own changes to Anchor to sort of adapt to the level of complexity that we needed. But even that, we were pushing the bounds of that. And so it got to be the time that we had to try our hand at making our own Solana program framework. So enter Starframe. What's sort of the motivations for Starframe? Well, we needed to reduce the complexity of Solana program development. We needed more flexible data structures to unlock more complex gameplay loops. We needed simpler account structs to reduce the effort on both our client team as well as just iterating on program loops internally. We need to be able to change the framework's behavior as new use cases arise. For those of you that are familiar with Anchor, the way that it's written, it works really well when you're doing what Anchor wants to do, but making significant changes to Anchor is not very feasible. So that was one of like the founding principles of Starframe is to make it modifiable. And then the last big piece is that we needed to eliminate possible developer error wherever possible. With such a large code base, we're validating, revalidating accounts, and it's super easy for developers to miss a small check that results in, some sort of unexpected behavior, maybe players losing control of assets or players being able to maliciously change account data. So I have a brief little explainer here on some of these modifiers. I know many of you are developers yourselves, but I'm keeping this very high level intentionally so that everyone can kind of grasp what we're doing here. At the end, we'll have links out to our GitHub, to our crates, all the relevant pages. So if you're interested in working with Starframe and want to get more into the nitty-gritty technical details of things, those will be provided. But as a high-level explainer of the motivation here, on Solana programs, everything is stored in an account, and every account has some account data, and we need to be able to describe when that data comes in. It's just an array of bytes, and we need to describe how to use that information. So this works well enough if you have a simple account. Say you have a ship, and a ship always has a name, it always has a mint, and it always has some level of HP. So then every client just needs to know how to deserialize these few fields, and you can work with a ship. But this breaks down pretty quickly if the data is dynamically sized. So say we have a player. Player always has a name and some inventory, but as you go around the world picking up items, dropping items, the number of items, the quantity of items in your inventory changes. So the size of this player account is going to change. Now, I'm glossing over some things here and making some assumptions that we're working in like a zero copy world and we don't have access to certain things like vectors or maps that otherwise would be available. But basically, if in a complicated program, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to have dynamically sized accounts in an Anchor program. So we came up with this, what we called the wrapped account pattern, where basically all of our accounts in green, or all of our accounts would have these two parts. The green part is some sized part, and the red is this unsized part. And this lets us say, whenever you receive an account, the stuff in green, we know how big that's going to be. In this case, you have a player account, you're going to take the first bytes and deserialize the name. Anything beyond that, we're just going to treat as the inventory. And so we can tell it, don't worry about how big the account is. You worry about sort of the sized portion of it. And anything that's left, we're going to deserialize as items. And so this is what I was talking about earlier, but this got us a little bit further. This lets us get around the fixed size nature of things and lets us be a little bit more flexible with our accounts. But again, this starts to break down because we can only have a single list of things on an account. So this works for a player with an inventory, but for you that play Sage, you have a fleet, and your fleet has ammo, it has cargo, it has fuel, it has some set of ships that comprise the fleet. So you can see here, when you have a fleet in Sage, we're actually using 5 accounts at one time. So you have the fleet that holds some stats about the fleet, and then the unsized portion is the fleet state. Maybe it's docked, maybe it's mining. And then we have pointers out to these other accounts. So you've got your cargo hold, which then has its own list of what you're holding. We have another pointer out to a fleet ships account that has a list of what ships are in your fleet. And so you can see how across the large code base, as we try to introduce new gameplay loops and stuff, this spirals out of control really quickly. And things just get so complex that, one, it's incredibly difficult for us to add new features at the program level because there's so many accounts moving around. But two, it's also super hard on our client development team. There's so many accounts that have to go into every instruction. And then for those of you in the community that have tried working with us, I know it's super difficult. There's so much data going around. There's so many different accounts going around. So really, in order for us to go to the next level in gameplay loop complexity, be able to bring in exciting new features, we needed a way to simplify all of this. So enter Starframe, and we have made unsized types of first-class citizen, and basically this exact same account now can be represented just as you would expect. A fleet account that has some set of stats, some set of ships, some cargo hold, and all of these things can be dynamically sized, and whenever you want to interact with a fleet, there's a single fleet account. So to talk a little bit about how Starframe works and how we achieved these things, I'll pass it over to Sammy.
Yeah, so took a lot of trial and error. We've been working on Starframe for 2 years at this point. And I guess to start with the account set system, one problem we've had with Anchor is a lot of times you'd need to either duplicate your definitions of accounts that go in a transaction, or copy and paste the validations and basically be calling the same function in every validation, and they weren't very nice to work together with. So what we did is we made it so that account sets, they have 3 steps. There's a decode, a validate, and a cleanup, and each step can take in a certain argument. And
Cara, coisas muito técnicas aqui, né? Não entendi muita coisa não, mas eu acho que eles vão condensar as transações, eu acho, em coisas menores, então vai ficar mais rápido, pelo que eu entendi.
more compile errors, but less loss of funds errors, which is a good thing. And I guess in terms of the modularity, Anchor sort of acts as its own programming language. So it's not very rusty. It's good for people who are just getting into Solana programming, but it doesn't.
We say you.
Like, you sort of have to go all or nothing with Anchor and use Anchor for everything or not use it at all. In our case, everything is trait based. So you could use the traits that you want, ignore the ones that you don't want. And yeah, it's you're not anchored to one framework. Thank you, IC, for that. And on the unsized type system, well, we're currently working on the docs, and to be honest, I'm struggling to document it for like developers, so I don't really know how I'm gonna explain it. It does a lot of like magic, basically, to move things around, and it sort of just works. And it's great. We love it. Like with here, let me.
Yeah.
Like
Arthur
actively
is saying,
trying to
Sammy,
publish.
never read the chat while presenting. That's absolutely true. You never
Yeah,
want to read it.
I need to
These
close
guys
it.
will for sure distract you with everything they have. I'll take that for sure.
So I don't know if I could screen share. We'll be open sourcing Starframe very soon. But one example is with this unsized type system, we could make a matching order book that is able to process like 1,000 orders in a single transaction and close up 1,000 orders in a single like market or limit order. And this system is actually what the new C4 local markets is based on. So it's very performant and it's great. So.
Pelo que eu entendi, eles vão condensar o livro de ofertas que vai servir como base para os mercados locais no C4.
So people will be able to read about it. For anyone that is curious about this. Dominic Bain has explained all the technical details himself.
There was one more point, guys, and again, I think I might be confusing information here, but as we transition into C4, for example, there's been internal discussion about the elimination of rent on token accounts, and I believe that's directly a result of this new Starframe framework. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, so because we're able to store dynamic data in accounts now, instead of having a bunch of token accounts, like Brian was showing earlier, your fleet just has like a cargo on itself. So you don't have to make a whole bunch of accounts. All of your cargo is tracked in your fleet and your Starbase, and it saves a lot of rent and a lot of our time having to think about all these things. So.
Would it be fair to say that as we transition out of Starbase, all of those open token accounts that have rent deposits right now can be recovered by the users, and then you won't have to reopen those when you get into C4?
The only time you would have to reopen those is if you're withdrawing the tokens. So basically, token accounts will start and end at the entry, at the port of entry. So you'll still have tokens in your wallet. As soon as you bring those into the game, they become cargo in the game, and you are free to close your token accounts. If you want to withdraw the tokens to use them outside of Sage, you will have to reinitialize the token accounts. But that said, one of the most common bugs that we seem to run into is user is sending or receiving token, and the other party doesn't have a token account for that. And we are constantly trying to address that, making sure that token accounts are being properly checked and initialized in all of our instructions. But this huge class of bugs goes away. Our instructions become smaller. We can do more with the transaction, as Sammy said, less rent. just overall, it just simplifies a lot of things by using account data instead of actually passing tokens around.
Awesome,
Yeah,
guys.
the other thing I'll note is Starframe is Pinocchio based. So Pinocchio is the new Solana SDK type thing. It's much faster than what was used before, and we will be the first framework to actually use Pinocchio. So
Yeah, just kind of want to wrap all this up by saying that the Solana ecosystem has given us so much. We've worked with Anchor for years now, and we couldn't have done what we've done without Anchor. But it was kind of time for us to spread our wings and fly. And Starframe lets us not only unlock the next level in complexity and gameplay loops, but we think by open sourcing this, we're giving back to the Solana community, and we're excited to see the things that all of these DeFi groups and other community groups can put together with this. I think people are going to be really happy with how simple this makes previously complex Solana programs.
Yeah. Guys, great, quote unquote, high level technical presentation. I know the community here isn't necessarily the core audience, but we do have some great developers. I just want to emphasize, you guys said it on the presentation, but we are open sourcing this. And we do think that this is an extremely valuable contribution back to the Solana ecosystem. Just kind of tying this into Zinc too, there was, we knew when we announced Zinc, it was potentially contentious. Is Stellar Atlas leaving the Solana ecosystem? We're not. I really think of Zinc as being quite complementary. Anybody building on Zinc would obviously have access to this same framework as well, but we do think that this is really a phenomenal contribution back to the ecosystem. It's been years in development. And I'll just, I'll note that this is some of the stuff that takes place in the background that isn't very visible to the community. You obviously see our gaming front ends, but there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to take place and innovation that needs to take place in the background so that we can achieve the this like pioneering trailblazing path that we're taking towards fully on-chain game systems and back-end MMO on-chain systems. So really great work, guys. I appreciate you jumping up here and giving us the overview.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, great job, guys. Well done.
W's for our first-time engineers on the town hall.
Yes. Okay. So as we mentioned, also a Medium article is coming soon with this, and with more information you can read on Starframe. So I think we are about halfway through Swag here.
Couple of big segments still coming up, yes.
Biggest segments probably coming right now. So good moment now to go for a glass of water, some beer, whatever you enjoy while watching a town hall, because we're getting into some specifics here. Moving on right now to Unreal Engine 5. And for that, we'll have a well-known face in the Stratos community speak about it. Dominic Bain, welcome to the stage, brother.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I have an exciting segment today. So I'm actually juiced to talk about it.
Let's go. Whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, let's do it. Okay, guys, so I have the extreme pleasure to talk about the UE5 updates in this town hall. So thank you, Chip, for allowing me to do this. First of all, new patch. First thing I want to say, new patch coming later this week. So you guys can expect a new patch coming later this week. And I'm going to get into that specifically, what's coming. There's also, of course, going to be patch notes. I'm going to be going into the highlights here just so we're not so I'm not taking like an hour here going through every single little patch, but I'll go through the highlights really quick. But just know there is a new patch coming later this week. So super exciting stuff. Let's get into those major highlights really quick, though. So the first major highlight, and something that I know a lot of you have been asking for because there's been a bug with it for a bit now, is there will finally be hardware wallet authentication. So you'll be able to actually use your Ledger wallet in UE5 again.
Finalmente, a gente vai conseguir usar a Ledger.
A lot of you have been experiencing that bug. Secondly, for all of you who have been playing the game, we've had a lot of people playing our shooter mode and a lot of people playing a lot of it too. Shout out to those people who have been playing every day. We have some balance updates happening to the shooter modes, so I'll kind of go through those as well. There's going to be a shotgun buff. I won't go through every single little thing that's happening, but for example, the shotgun buff is going to be an increase in shotgun damage and projectile size, and we're going to reduce the range slightly. But that's going to be one of the things. We're going to be kind of completely changing how the Gatling gun works. If you guys have been playing, you guys know that the Gatling gun is actually not the best power weapon, to put it lightly. So there's going to be some great changes to the Gatling gun. It's going to shoot while it's spinning up. We're increasing the damage, etc. You guys can see all this stuff in the patch notes. Heavy weapons will no longer start with ammo. So for all of you who have been terrorized by snipers in in arena, it will no longer, I mean, it will probably still happen when they can pick up the ammo, but not off the start anymore. So snipers will no longer be starting with ammo. Any other power weapons will no longer be starting with ammo. So that's a great change. I'm looking forward to that. And improved team balancing. So you'll no longer be able to choose which team that you'll join until after a round. So we're kind of balancing the teams. You also won't be able to join a team that already has the maximum amount of players. So we were having problems where there'd be like 7 people on one team, then 1 person on Mud, and then like 3 people on Ooster. So we're addressing that. So that's great as well. Let's see. Something that I think is great is there some addressing some of the issues that was causing jittery character movement. So when you guys were walking around or running around or boosting, there would be some jitters that would happen. It would look a little buggy. So they've addressed some of those, which is great. Another cool one that's happening, and if you're following Chipto on X, you guys should definitely follow Chipto on X because he's posting daily devlogs, which have been absolutely fantastic. You can now descend while in hover mode. So if you press the crouch input, you can now descend while you're actually boosting, which is fantastic. It feels really good. And then the last highlight I want to say before I get into the big one is we're also adding spectating support to racing. Swagner actually just linked Chipto's X, so go follow him. Seriously, it's amazing, amazing stuff. He posts almost daily, if not daily. I'm pretty sure he's actually posting daily right now. So shout out to Chip. Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then I have the extreme pleasure of announcing something absolutely huge. You guys have seen it already on the Galactic Marketplace. There is a resource called Ink on the Galactic Marketplace. What is Ink? I'm glad you asked. Ink is a new exclusive resource only in Unreal Engine 5 Star Atlas. You can only get it from playing Star Atlas in Unreal Engine 5. So this is basically the first time that someone is able to earn while playing Star Atlas UE5. This is one of the biggest announcements we've ever done. In my personal opinion, I'm so excited for this. It's been a long time coming. I'm so juiced for this. So how do you earn ink? So you get 1 ink for every 100 XP that you earn in a match. For example, if you play a gunplay match and you get like 738 XP, you would get 7 ink. And that 7 ink would go to your profile. Ink will be airdropped periodically. I'm sure you're wondering how exactly you will be getting your ink. So you're not going to finish a match and then automatically have your ink. You want to be able to actually control ink and make sure that there's no one who's exploiting anything. So we are going to be doing periodical airdrops. So we're still discussing whether or not this is going to be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, how that's going to look. But there will be airdrops that happen for this ink resource for the time being. So it won't be immediate. You'll be earning ink and then an airdrop will happen. And like I said, 100 XP per match. You'll be able to actually see the XP, the ink that you've accumulated in your rewards page as well. So you guys can look in your rewards page and see that you might have like 111 ink that will be airdropped to you. We talked about we're manually distributing it just to make sure that we can remove bad actors. Also, if you're caught exploiting for XP, you'll just be banned from earning airdrops. We've actually kind of already seen a couple people doing this, and I just want to make it very clear here. If anyone is exploiting, no matter what, no matter the reason, no matter what you're saying, you will be banned from earning airdrops. So please do not do that. And then ink will be usable in Sage Labs, ladies and gentlemen, meaning that our experiences will be connected like never before. So you'll be able to import ink into the game. transport it to a Phantom Starbase, and deposit it as an upgrading resource worth 100,000
Dá pra
LP
ganhar,
per
hein?
unit. Woo! That I dropped a bomb there, so that is pretty.
Yes,
that is
sir.
pretty spicy. That
It's a
is pretty spicy.
huge amount of LP. Dom, I just want to mention one thing. It is going to be exclusive to the new Phantom Star bases that are rolling out.
Yep. And then the last thing I want to say, I know I'm dropping a freaking bunch of information here, but to celebrate Inc., we're going to be hosting a double XP weekend this weekend. I kind of spoiled it with the graphic here already, but
É 29 a 31. Cada 100 de XP igual a 1 Ink.
Now, if you're going to be earning double the XP, which means you're earning double the ink, so definitely get in there. You definitely want to play this weekend, get your ink, because it's going to be the best time to actually get your ink. We don't have an exact time, but we will let you know, of course, when that's happening. So, yeah, new resource exclusively earned in Star Atlas. Patch coming later this week. Double XP weekend. Be there. Be square. That's all I got.
Yeah, man. This is something that we've been looking forward for a long time, man. Like, finally, UE5 and Sage are connecting. It's a major thing.
It's huge.
Major thing. Swag, you're muted.
Yeah, this is a very key point. This is the first opportunity for cross-pollination from the Unreal Engine client into Sage gameplay systems. I think really cool. Obviously, if you want to redeem this for LP, you're going to need some crew in Sage. You'll need some ships to transport it. Now, in terms of weighting, I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we're just going with a single unit weight, so it's not inventory intensive, but nevertheless, you will still need a ship to transport it to that Phantom Starbase. And I want to share one thing, what INC actually stands for, which is, I believe it's Inter-Nanite Kinematics, which I think is really cool. And just going a little bit deeper into the lore on this and how we landed on INC is the naming. One, I didn't like Black Goo, so sorry, everybody can hate me.
He's Black Goo, man. Bring it back.
He killed Black Goo.
I did kill Black Goo. The decision's been made. We're not reverting. I don't care. But what I think is really cool is I kind of think about blockchain and the potential for Zinc to be this really substrate of the metaverse, of digital experiences in the future. Across the team, we've spoken about segregation between Zinc and Star Atlas. I don't want Zinc just to be exclusive for Star Atlas. It really is intended to blossom, mature, and grow as its own independent L1. But again, I think of a blockchain as the substrate of the metaverse. There's an opportunity for crossover between projects that are deploying, say, a DEX or an exchange that launches on Zinc, to have I guess what I'm calling a digital yet physical representation within Star Atlas. That could be an exchange with a trading floor that is on a central space station within Star Atlas. I think that's really cool as an opportunity. And this is where Jose would probably correct me, but the Star Atlas is technically the blockchain of the Star Atlas universe. And so I kind of think of Zinc and this material ink as the bridge between Zinc, the blockchain, and the representation of the Star Atlas, the blockchain, the data set that is Star Atlas and the Star Atlas universe. So I think it's all really cool, and I'm betting we see a lot more people grinding in UE, at least over the weekend, if not beyond.
For sure. Just said you leaked with that one, so there you go. There you go.
That's been out there. I've seen people talk about it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. At this point, we cannot even process what's been out there and what hasn't. So it happens. If it was leaked, there you have. Seen in the internal chat.
Hey, I saw people talking about it because the last cinematic we released, she mentions the Star Atlas. Anyway, forget I said anything if that was a leak. Cut this segment from the recording.
Yeah, nothing happened here. We move on. But yeah, man, amazing. And I think we're going to see an increased level of activity this weekend. I just bought the new PC, so I'll be playing in there, hopefully at a better level. But also
É
another thing,
muito legal que vai poder usar
don't be
a
caught
Ledger, né?
exploiting. You will be banned. You will not be able to earn again in UE. So just saying that it's also easy to detect, so don't exploit, guys. So yeah. Okay. I think that covers it. That's a huge news. I think a lot of people here in the community have been expecting it for a long time. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Rip Black Goo. Hashtag Rip Black Goo. We have ink now, which is clean. I have to admit it is a clean name, Michael. I'll admit.
Internetite kinematics. Just sounds really cool.
Mhm. So yeah, now we'll keep moving. That was not the last part for this town hall. We'll actually talk about C4 now. And for that, we're going to get two guests on stage. So we'll get
Chris?
our CPO,
Opa,
Danny Floyd.
beleza.
Danny,
Adoro
welcome to
quando
the
o Danny
stage.
Floyd vem.
Hey, everybody.
Fan favorite.
Welcome.
Danny, great to have you up here.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Hey, guys. Yeah, and I don't know if anyone else knows this, but my brother, Joseph, another brother, he'll be joining us for this segment.
The company is overrun with Floyds. Sorry, Joseph, cut you off there. Overrun.
There's a lot of us. It's okay.
We have 5 more. Okay, so anything else, Santi, or?
Not really. I think we can get into it. I think we'll mention it right now. I think, Michael, what do you think? It's a little surprise that we could for the community. I'll let you introduce it, Michael. You probably do a better job than me. But before the guys get into it, I think it's pretty cool what we're about to share.
Oh, I don't want to steal any thunder here. This is all entirely Danny's work. I'll let him make the introduction of what we're covering here today. I mean, you guys saw this on a previous town hall when we were covering, well, a lot of different topics, but C4 was a highlight there. Danny, I'm hesitant to reveal the domain immediately, but you know what? Make an executive decision, and I'll let you just take it away.
All right. Sorry, I'm a little coffee today, but yeah. So today, I mean, yeah, we looked at this before, and the last time I was in Greece, no longer there. Got a much better internet this time around, so I think this should be a nice, smooth demo. Anyway, the point of today's demo is to show how far we've come with those Sage Editor Suite tools. And I'll go ahead and start sharing, actually, because that's where the fun comes in. Hang on, let me move my Discord.
Vamos ver, hein? Quando o Danny vem, ele vem com coisa boa.
All right, is that coming in?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I went over the Sage Editor Suite last time. It was like some internal tools. There were some available that I could show that are advanced somewhat now in this current state. But there was also a whole section that was coming soon, which is gone because we're done with all the tools, and we've been building all the actual system design stats and how everything's working now. So these tools, and actually I'll go ahead and switch to Zinc Green to have fun with the theme of the day or the month. So anyway, now these tools are, yeah, it's kind of already out there, but we're going to be releasing these tools so everyone can get their hands on them. And this is literally the spot that we use to access these tools. So it'd be the exact same spot, the exact same URL that we'll be using to develop out all the system design, all the latest specs and stats for everything: ships, starbases, combat, claim stakes, crafting habs, all the recipes, all the live data that we have internal will be accessible just as fast by anyone in the community or anyone who wants to out there in the public anyway. So I'll go ahead and what I'm going to kind of do is just run through all the tools. Some of it was shown last time, and now I'll kind of give an update where they're at, and a quick rundown again as a reminder of where the tools fall into the pipeline for the whole development of the game. And first thing, what I do is I use this loop matrix. As you open these tools now, they automatically open the latest associated JSON file. So as we make updates on the back end and push it to the repo, it'll also be updated for anyone who's jumping in the tool. So if you see changes here, whether it's subtracting or adding, it'll be the same data that we're using throughout our pipeline. And so by the time C4 comes out, you'll be completely caught up with the latest stuff. This tool, it's basically a contextual, conditional listing tool. So as I, list out all these different things that I can use to create these lists, you change the properties and they all reference each other. You can add different things that are all referencing. And if anyone has tried to do this in Google Sheets, it's a huge pain. Trying to do it in Notion or other programs, it's a really huge pain. So I had to create this fresh tool that's basically a conditional listing tool. And I use this for, I used it for making rewards of advancing your character group and ship mastery rewards and stuff like that. And it's super fast at creating really high density lists. I can, let me see, if you duplicate all values of that, and I instantly create everything within that same category, and it duplicates everything in there. I'm already up to 41,000 items without having to do manual changes. So this is super helpful, super fast, and then you export to other programs that support a similar markdown. Anyway, one of the things I use this for that's actively being used is for the ship components, where I load in a JSON, set up the ship components, and if I need to make any changes, then I'll load that into the ship configurator tool. And then it'll allow me to edit different types of components or remove them. So they work in a pipeline at the moment. Now, when I open the ship configurator, there's a really big change here. I'll show in a second. But also, it automatically loads in the default JSON that, again, it's the latest on the repo. And then we'll do something like, let's add a air bike, a lobby, and let's have some fun and add a rainbow phi. Okay, so again, what I showed last time, you can show the different configurations and how they affect the stats. These are the components I was talking about. If you edit them in the loop matrix, export it and import it into here, you can kind of see how or different things that you can edit and use as components in configurations for your ships and fleets. All the stats are at I'll say, they're not final until they're on chain, basically, but everything has placeholders, which I think play out quite nicely, but there's going to be a lot of testing and a lot of tweaking. So anyway, these are the types of tweaks we would make. And then the big new feature here, and you can also deep dive into how those individual components affect and how they're being effective to the changes when you upgrade your ship configs. And I'll show you how ship configs do actually make a difference in the combat simulator. So this is the new big thing here. You pit left fleet against right fleet, and you can set it up however. We'll set it up as an air bike versus lobby. And you can immediately see some of the most important stats that would go into the combat rounds. And then how it's played out is this combat equation at the top here that's embedded into the JSON that you would load in. And you can get a really deep dive to exactly how these things play out. Like you can see the different damage types that are in your configuration that convert into direct damage and see how that plays out, and all sorts of things go into it. Size variance, stealth versus scanning, and hit chances and recharges. And yeah, I try to give a little highlighting so it's easier to follow. But really deep dive into exactly how this combat plays out. This is a living document, so will likely be a lot of changes. But as we play through and test, then you'll be able to see that in real time as well. And the last thing, before we get into the fight, and I'll explain this more later, in the brand new tool, it's like council rank, right? So one of the things with Combat XP, we have two different types of skills, one called Alpha Strike and one called Alpha Shield. And that's based on the first hit. You can get an advantage to the amount of damage you do. So if you upgrade that in your council rank, then you'll get a surprise extra damage boost. But they can always do an Alpha Shield to reduce it, absorb it. So then let's just go ahead and do a fight. And you can kind of see quickly how it plays out. Wait a second.
Pô, que massa.
Let's go back to base default. That shouldn't have happened. There we go. Lobby wins. So if we fight 1,000 times, we can see Lobby wins 100% of the time. Obviously, Lobby's much bigger, but we can break that down into exactly why that's happening. And it gives some interesting little tidbits too. Like I said, there was size variance, and a smaller ship is harder to target. And you can see the exact numbers for that in the round by round. You can see there was no Alpha Strikes or Alpha Shield absorption. And this is kind of like setting up the combat configuration. And then it goes round by round until somebody wins. And you can see when the damage took place and when shields absorb damage and etc. And then all the way down until somebody win. So looks like there were a lot of, let me see, was there misses? Missed due to size difference, 73% hit chance because fighting a smaller vehicle. Now, like I said, if you change configuration, this is a little OP at the moment. Let's see. So we fight. Okay, that's too OP. I'm adjusting these things. But even just bumping up your configuration to tier 1 components across the board, in this simulation, Airbike is winning half the time. And then you can also see why. Some other interesting things that we can show, like let's move to a different type of combat type or damage type. So Grey Goo. Let's do Grey Goo for Lobby as well, because what happens in the configuration is if you damage with Grey Goo weapons, you also have the counter to it. So the healing nanobots are also part of the configuration. You'll see how that plays out. And then just for fun, let's put like some absorption in here. And we can see how this plays out. You can see tier 4, Alpha Strike, right still won, but you can see why. Alpha Strike took 40% damage, but the Grey Goo was interesting. And we can track that attack versus absorb and how it wins. Let's see, over 1,000 times, still wins. Okay, now let's change to a Rainbow Phi, and let's put a tier
Airbike
5
versus Rainbow Phi.
Yeah, let's see.
Such a fair battle.
Let's super buff it. You can do 40%. How many? 40%. Okay, let's see who wins. Okay, Rainbow Phi still wins 100% of the time. Okay, fair enough. What's interesting too, let's see how many. Oh, it only took one. Oh, how did it hit? Oh, it only took, let's try again. Okay. Really effective Rainbow Phi. But sometimes these small things go for like 17 rounds just to actually get hit. It's pretty funny. So now let's see. See what I mean? Around 25. Now let's see how many. And again, these are just placeholder. Let's see how many thimble air bikes it takes at tier 5. And what I'm doing right now is matching the ship size. So let's surpass the ship size and see if it still wins. Nope. Any? Looks like a tiny percentage. No? Jeez. Okay. More. Any? Okay. 0.3% of the time. An air bike wins, and we have 52 air bikes, all at tier 5,
52,
full maximum configuration.
Para uma nave
Beating
titã.
a FI 0.3% of the time. Okay. Anyway, yeah, you can have fun with this stuff. Let's see. That go up. Okay, 4.2%. Nice. So yeah, have fun with that. To get it in the combat simulator, you got to bring it into the sheet here. It's lagging. So you just load it up and then test it out. So now it becomes part of the configurable fleets. So yeah, combat simulator is gonna be packaged with this. Oh, and one thing I wanted to say on all the tools now, this little help modal in the corner should also help you get oriented and what are the uses for it, keyboard shortcuts. And there's a lot in these tools. I didn't even go into the pattern builder. It's insane. Okay, so next tool, we got the map editor updates. So again, it automatically loads into the latest map. There are still some pending changes coming around because this is always a living document. And we're changing how resources are getting distributed. For example, like with the claim stakes, we want to make sure as people upgrade their claim stakes, they can have proximity, access to relevant resources to building these buildings and upgrading these buildings. So we don't want to make people travel around too much unless it's like, really exotic stuff that you do want to travel maybe halfway across the galaxy to supply it. So those are always kind of like shifting around and refining. What I wanted to show here is I've introduced the king and core systems. Let's hide this and this. Now, if you look at this map, let me just turn this grid off. Mike mentioned earlier that currently in Starbase, if your faction's got a tier 5 Starbase in one of the systems, it's going to transfer over into tier 5 Starbases here. Now you can see this is simulating as if all systems have a tier 5 Starbase currently in Starbase, what it would look like. So the current live map looks like this, if that's the case, which it looks like we're tracking for that to be the case. So you can go ahead and explore, for example, like, and it lines up, the regions line up 1-to-1 with the current systems that are currently being played with. And you can see all the neutral systems around that are new. Puts the new in neutral. And then you can take a peek. We have this new expanding feature. You can see asteroid fields and what's actually in here. Turn the filters on. So you can see what resources are available. And you see the tier 5 Starbase. And within that same region, because Oni owns this because they're tier 5 here, the numbers are going to be different. But not only do you get the tier 5 king system, and king system means it's got the most links out, as you can see, it's got the most warp lanes. And then core systems are going to be higher density of resources available. And these will all be Starbase tier 1. So Oni will own the king system and at least 60% of core systems to get you the full region. But we're not giving 60%, we're giving 100%. And then all these secondary systems are just kind of, do you want to get rid of some pirates and make it 100% or not? If it's like juicy, you want to see some stuff that you might like, okay, maybe you can make an effort to own those as well by destroying the starbase. So yeah, those are the big things I think for the map. Lots of stuff to deep dive. I said things will be updating, and all you have to do is open this tool to see them update.
Yeah, I think that should be even emphasized even more. Like, we're literally opening access soon to this, so you guys will be able to see what's going on behind the scenes and in real time how developers update the stats. And that's just incredible access to behind the curtains developer work, literally making the community part of the development process, like never before, I would say.
Definitely.
Yeah, you guys would literally be accessing the same dashboard that we are for building out the tools, day in and day out, just coming back to this home page and choosing tools and tweaking. And one thing that's also probably worth noting is this will be tweaking all the way up until launch. These system designs aren't holding up anything in development. So we're able to build these out and refine it, and then they can just pump that back into the game and to test. So we can go all the way up till to launch to be tweaking, and that's what the testing phase will reveal as well.
That's a good point, because I already saw comments like, "Oh man, 50 airbikes can kill a fee. What is going on?" So balancing is expected here, right? I mean, like, stats will change, things will change. You're literally getting access to behind the curtains dev work. So
especially the combat simulator. Don't go out and buy 50 airbikes and think you bought a $5 million fleet. And thanks for the question, Van Zen. Yeah, I just got a little cough, but overall, I'm feeling energized. But yeah, I've put placeholder stats for everything, as far as all the components and the configurations and for all the ships, but it is not tested at all. It's now at the point where it's easy to tweak things. So, 52 airbikes can kill a FI 0.3% of the time. Well, okay, what do we want that to be? 0? Then we'll adjust, the amount of damage that certain configurations can actually do and stuff like that. So we're at that point where we can manage that. I'll skip over these 3 here. Claim stakes, crafting hubs, and crafting recipes. So those are what Joseph's going to demo. One thing I will say about them is they work all as one tool, basically. We redid them because now it's its own contained supply line. So what you build in claim stakes, those resources that you get out of that go towards your crafting hubs and the crafting recipes. So it's all one sort of simulator that you get to play with. And the last thing I'll show, and Combat Simulator, it's embedded in the ship configurator, so I don't need to show that. But the last thing I'll show is research nodes. Now this is council rank system, basically one of the C4s. It jumps right, it loads in the latest again, and then jumps right into simulator mode. So how this works is these are skill trees for all the different careers and for the council rank, spending renown. So you spend career skill points in all these different trees for each career. I'll go ahead and start. This panel here allows you to simulate earning XP. So I'll put that at 8x. And so say I set up some fleets to go flying around or do some scanning or mining, then you're earning XP, right? Building with claim stakes, crafting, and combat. And let's just simulate that I'm doing all this stuff, right? So now I got 1 point in data running. So I'll go look at the data running tree, and this will all be. I intentionally made this like a simulator mode to get a feel of what it's like to browse around the skill tree and, looking at different, and there's my first renown, I'll explain that in a sec. And looking at different skills. What do I want to upgrade? And combat scanner, and it is little, if you hover over it, there's some details at the bottom. Scanning patterns, da da da. What do I want to upgrade? So I'll just upgrade these since I got a few points. And then you get a feel of what it's like. You got the noise, you got the VFX to kind of just understand if it's fun in the game. And we already had to make some tweaks. At first, it was like every single career, you get a renown and you can spend it on council rank. But that felt like it cheapened the experience overall. So we made it now you have to earn 6 different career points before you get 1 renown. And then now I've got 3 renown points, so I'll go and look at my council rank stuff. So what do I want? Plot ownership. Let's see. Do I want residential plots or productive plots? Let's make it so I can start using tier 3, tier 4 production plots. And then you kind of look at like what's being unlocked in here, and get a feel, look around, see how you want to spend XP, because a lot of people playing Starbase right now already have XP. So that'll be, well, we haven't figured out the conclusive version of the current Starbase XP to C4 skill. And you get converted over to some pilot points. Now you can just quickly level up to capital, and you're instantly flying your capital ships again. So fun sort of conversion over. You're not wasting your time earning XP at the moment in Starbase, even though we're resetting things. If you really want to deep dive and you see how, like behind the curtains, see how these things are created, this tool can show you like some details of how that all works. So again, question mark shows you how to use it and what to use it for. So that's kind of it. Hope I didn't overload again, but we won't have to overshare anymore because this is gonna be available for everyone else to play with and just look behind the curtain anytime they want, work out some strategies, and just always know exactly how it's going to run. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Joseph, and then one more announcement after, one more small announcement of where to go for this, and then we'll go live. So have at it, bro.
All right. Thanks, Danny. Let's go ahead and share. See if I can do this right. Okay, I think I'm leaking the the link right now. Apologize about that. Danny, that was okay to do, correct?
Yeah, it's not live yet, but yeah.
Okay. All right. First time town hall. I'm sorry about that. All right. So we'll go ahead and dig into these 3 tools. Like Danny said, they are sort of integrated with each other. We originally had a claim stake simulator that I think has been shown before, but ultimately thought it would be cool to kind of integrate these, be able to, send your resources that you're obtaining from claim stakes to the Starbase, start crafting with them out of your habs, and also be able to visualize some of these crafting recipe trees, right? And kind of how they're all integrated together to try to get you to those final components, those ship config components. So we'll go ahead and go into claim stakes first. These 3 tabs, it's going to essentially bring you to each tab respectively, whichever you click on. But we'll start with claim stakes here. So we can go ahead and select a planet and get some information on that. All right, so we can see the faction control, the type of planet it is. So we're on a terrestrial planet right now. And then we can see what claim stake tiers are available to us. Now, we see that based on the Starbase level, we only have tier 1 open right now. That can be adjusted in your settings. So we can go ahead and go here and go ahead and upgrade or downgrade your Starbase level as you see fit. So we can see how that affects things across claim stake tiers and crafting hab plots. So we'll go ahead and just upgrade this a few times and go back, and now we can get tier 2 or tier 3 claim stakes. So here as well, we have the natural resources. So these are the raw materials that are extractable from the planet once you buy them. So you can kind of see, what you're able to get before you make that purchase. And then we'll go ahead and dive in. First thing that you can always get with any claim stake is your central hub. So this basically gives you crew slots as well as power generation for your claim stake. That's going to kind of give you access to all the rest of your hubs, which there's 4 additional ones right now with farm hub, storage hub, processing hub, and extraction hub. Each of those are kind of your stepping stones into your modules that give you the ability to extract more resources from the extraction hub, or process more resources that you're being extracted, utilizing your processing hub and your processor modules. So if we go ahead and click, we'll get our extraction hub going. And then you see, now that we have that, we've unlocked all of these different extractors that we could potentially add in as well. So as you're adding these buildings and kind of designing your claim stake, you can see up here in your design overview what's getting increased, right? So your slots, each building has its own set of slots that's going to take up, a certain amount of your claim stake total, right? Once you meet that max slots, then you're basically capped at that point. If you actually upgrade one of your extractors or your hubs, then that is going to go up in its amount as well. So you can kind of weigh, the efficiency of the extractor versus the tier versus how many slots it's taking. So this is kind of the reason for that, and the ability to play around with these different designs to see what's optimal for you. There is a net power as well that you have to stay above. So your central hub provides you power, but there's also power plants where you can get additional power. This just has to stay above 0, right? So, or at 0. If you go below, then you'll not be able to finalize your design here. But ultimately, you stay above that and you keep on feeding fuel into your central hub and your power plants, then you can continue to extract these resources. So right now, we can also see how much storage we have and the additional construction costs. So obviously, the central hub, it does come with a claim stake. We made that for a reason. So basically, if you purchase that claim stake, you kind of have this, building already that also does some extraction on its own. So it does extract all of the raw materials that are available per that tier of claim stake and extracts them at a very low rate. So if you did want to increase that, you're going to want to get an extraction hub. You're going to want to get additional modules to increase that extraction rate. But you do have something that's going to provide you raw materials. Now, those raw materials can be used to create the additional initial set of buildings that you're going to be able to kind of get your claim stake running, right? So we wanted to make it that way so that you didn't just immediately kind of place your claim stake and then get hit with this wall, right? This gate where it's like, okay, well now what do? I need to process all these components and I don't have a processor, right? So the only option there is to transfer to your Starbase, So we are kind of making that initial stage of setting up a claim stake a little bit on the easier side. And that being said, we're also looking at the recipes of each building as well. So Danny spoke to this a little bit before, but we are trying to look at each system individually. And since travel in the system is free, we're going to be trying to make each of the initial set of buildings able to be built utilizing the resources that are in a system. So That's our goal. It's obviously a lot more complicated than it sounds. We have a lot of resources, a lot of components, and a lot of different buildings. Right now, the buildings are specific to a resource besides your infrastructure buildings. Your hubs, your power plant, and your crew quarters are your infrastructure buildings. They kind of, provide you what you need with crew slots. Crew is just simulated right now in this. There is a crew requirement for each building, and also the amount of crew slots that it provides. So there's two different metrics there that you're going to have to kind of monitor with your crew. So that is another thing, but right now it is simulated. It won't stop you from kind of finalizing this design and getting going. So now that we have that, we'll look into potentially also getting a extractor, and then let's look at building this out a little bit more. And we'll go to a processing hub as well, and then see if we can get a copper processor. So we'll kind of visualize, getting that copper ore extractor going, as well as then turning that copper ore into copper, right? We'll go ahead and speed this up, get our missing construction cost here, and finalize the design. So right now we can see that this building is telling us that it's missing copper ore. This is a processor building that really takes in a crafting recipe itself. So if it's one copper ore that gets turned into a copper, then it's going to be looking for that one copper ore, right? And not really producing everything. They work in, full amounts. So as you see this copper ore kind of going up to one, we're going to be turning that into another copper. So things are working, things are running. Our fuel is draining right now. But again, there will be self-sustaining options that do show up in later stages, right? So maybe like a tier 3 claim stake. Now you're able to also create a fuel processor, right? You get that hydrogen extractor, the fuel processor, and now you have this self-sustaining claim stake that you can really just kind of leave alone and just, be fruitful from. So down here as well, we have another view to be able to kind of visualize everything. This is a by claim stake or an aggregate view. You can purchase multiple claim stakes, as many as you want in this simulator. Feel free to go crazy. And this shows you how much you're extracting, processing, consuming, and your net rate, as well as how many are getting into your storage here. So up here we have our max storage amount. So we're about 114 out of the max of 3,000. And once it does hit that max, once those storage hubs and those storage modules get maxed out, production will stop at that point as well, right? So it's not going to continue to, take your fuel when storage is full. Everything will kind of stop there. But you can, in the simulator, just go ahead and add more fuel if you'd like to keep that going. And then we also wanted to showcase the way you kind of empty out that storage if you do need to. So in order to do that, you can click Set as Source here. And the main target is always going to be your Starbase. You can transfer from claim stake to claim stake. They do have their own separate inventories. So right now we're transferring from our claim stake to our Starbase. We can go ahead and transfer all except fuel, right? And see what we're transferring here. So after that, we'll go ahead and execute our transfer. It's going to simulate our ship coming, loading, and then unloading at the Starbase as well. So now that we've transferred that, we can kind of get into the second half of this, which is the crafting hubs, right? So it's supplying everything, and now we can start crafting some additional resources with that. Now, one other thing, as far as the available buildings that are going to be able to be built with processors on a claim stake, we have decided that basically anything under or equal to 2 production steps, right? So if you have something like a copper wire, we can go to copper ore to copper wire. anything that would utilize copper wire in that recipe, you're not going to be able to have a building created for. It gets a little bit complex after 2 production steps to really make that kind of passive crafting that comes with claim stakes and really getting that together. It still does have some complications with some of those recipes that have multiple resources in them. You may have to, freight in some additional recipe or resources to kind of keep things going there. But yeah, this is what that's for. Feel free to design and come up with the best, most efficient claim stakes. So going over to the second tool here, we are now at our starbase, and we can see the available plots for crafting habs. All right, so we can select a tier 2 or tier 1 and go ahead and start building. We're going to select just our hab tier 1 that comes with a certain amount of slots. This is very similar to the way that claim stakes operate. So we have our slots. The other thing that we have are job slots, right? So these are slots where you can assign a craft job to. Right, so as we add in our crafting station, our slots are going to go up, and then there's also additional ways to increase speed. So since we have just the extra small crafting station, right now that's just staying at the normal speed, but there's ways to increase that. And then we'll go ahead and add some additional storage here. So there is a storage factor as well with crafting habs. That is just simulated right now. We aren't enforcing the storage capacity either. But we'll go ahead and add the missing resources here to be able to finalize this. And then we can go ahead and start crafting. So now that this is available, we have 1 job slot that we can go ahead and start crafting with. This is our massive list of crafts. So we can go ahead and sort to craftable only. And then we can start looking at what we can craft with our inventory that we have on the side here. One note just on the inventory. This is, again, the star-based inventory. If you wanted to visualize your global resources as well, there's this button that would show kind of everything that you have and all the locations that it's at. Also production rates, aggregate, and then by resource. And then you can see all of your different storage locations here, how much are there, how much you're producing, how much are in storage. And then, yeah, there's 2 different views as well here. So if you wanted to prefer a list view and view it this way, you can also do that. But this is a quick way to kind of see what do I have. That is kind of emphasized in a lot of different places though. So you can monitor your claim stakes and monitor your crafting jobs that you're putting in, and be able to stay efficient in that. So here we'll go ahead and start a crafting job. We got our copper here, and then we'll go ahead and start crafting. So now that job is there, you can feel free to switch between the tools. That's going to continue, and then at that point, once it's completed, now that's in our inventory, and then you can start using that for different things that may require that copper. So that's essentially it on the crafting habs right now. There is a magic button as well over here if you really wanted to just go ahead and go crazy and kind of just craft things. You can click add raw materials. That's going to give you every raw material that's currently in our list, which is about 99. So feel free to click that and start crafting. If you want to visualize all of the recipes and the crafting recipes that we have, that's kind of what this last tool is for. So we can go ahead and sort by tier, or we can sort by component. A little bit of the hierarchy here. It goes from raw materials to components and then to ingredients. Ingredients are used for the ship components, ship modules, ship weapons, and all the rest here. Then there's another level of components. That's the main ones that make up the ingredients, and also the ones that are used to create buildings. So hope that all makes sense. But yeah, that's kind of our hierarchy of different types that we're looking at. And you can also visualize this, right? If we wanted to look at absorption matrix and look at this crafting tree, for example. So we can see here all of the raw materials down here at the bottom that are used to craft just one absorption matrix. You can click on it and see the amount of time it takes. You can also view that this way. And then, yeah, just kind of plan out how you get to being able to craft this recipe, right? So we can also look at the amount of production steps total over here. There's different metrics here for efficiency, how much time it takes, right? You can decide how many you want to craft here, and that's going to respond, right? If you wanted to look at one station or multiple stations working together, or with bonuses and perfect timing, this is kind of the amount that you're looking at crafting here. There's also build plans. So being able to set that up and get this build plan, and then also exporting to queue, you can directly assign this to the crafting hab. It's going to pick a crafting hab for you that is the best suited for that and has a job available, and then that will start crafting right away. So those are integrated like that. Another feature of this is searching by ingredient. So if you didn't want to search kind of the actual craft recipes, but you're looking at, you know, what is absorption matrix in, right? Or what is the abyssal energy crystals in? Let's see here. So here we go. So this is going to show you the actual recipe in that ingredient. Able to kind of discern, you know, how many recipes is this component or this ingredient or raw resource used in, right? You can kind of get that effect of that resource in kind of the grand scheme of things. So that is also, you know, for us a balancing tool, and being able to see, you know, what kind of value this brings, what does this lead to, and the overall universal effect there. There's some additional small features here with just the recipe tree, being able to center it, and then also if you wanted to just take a picture, you can go ahead and just click that, and it's going to take a picture for you of the recipe tree here, so you don't have to memorize that. You can kind of go back to it. And see, the last thing I have, and this is just kind of an additional little thing, there are some achievements here. If you want to go crazy and produce 1 million units of any resource, you can do that. So there's some achievements here just for your own personal, you know, gains and and goals here, that if you wanted to play around in the crafting tools that we have. So other than that, the settings and configuration does have a preferences of auto saving. You can save and load as you want, and then also being able to clear all data. If you want to just wipe it clean and start all over again, then you can do that. Then this is a little summary as well, some quick saves, and then I do need to get those sound effects in that Danny had. Those are awesome. So we'll be working on that next, but that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah. Awesome, Joseph. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, we have to deal with, the in-depth system design. There was a couple things I wanted to mention on the crafting habs. The big win there is the more slots you have, these are fee-free slots, so you don't pay the crafting fee. And then, yeah, I just wanted to go over, this is behind the curtain kind of system design view. We created these prototypes in a way to at least give us the basic minimal feel of what it's like to play it in a game. So if it's like things feel too complicated or too laborious or not complicated enough, we wanted to get a feel for that and make the minimal prototype tool so we can get a sense and tweak at that level. But everything you saw is some part of C4. And so that'll be in the game, but, you know, the front end design, when it's all polished off, is going to be a very accessible game. You have tutorials and step through it one by one. You don't have to take this fire hose of information and feel like you need to master it all right now, right? So then that's the next challenge for the actual game making. So anyway, yeah, the link is now live, so it's ses.staratlas.com, and have at it. Follow along with development. Things will be updated in real time, because literally I go to that URL and just
Rolando já,
start
hein?
tinkering away, and then I update it on the repo, and now that's the latest source of truth. So also Brett mentioned it's open source, so if you wanted to, instead of exporting out those JSON files, then you can just go straight to the repo and see there's different versions. It's not super clean on the back end, but we have these different versions for different purposes that we're not going to go into explain everything right now, because you guys are done. All right, thanks everybody.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good stuff. We'll have to get you more often.
I think we're going to need a couple of town halls dedicated just to C4 as we continue to progress here. But guys, really well done. Joseph, thanks for joining us. Danny, as always, excellent job up here. It was a hell of a town hall, Santi.
Swag, there was a lot in there. I think we touched on most of the products that we have, and we even had this surprise release for Ink. Some people found it beforehand, of course. So DAO XP this weekend, guys. Lock in. It's time. And also this release of the dev tools, which is something that I'll say you don't see often in many game studios, right? Danny and Joseph just opened access to the tools that they literally are using as we develop C4 and we balance everything out. So you have real-time access to what's going on behind the scenes. So you're basically part of the development process. Super embedded.
Yeah, I would consider this an official first release of C4 PTR. It is the developer tools, but it's everything you guys need. Comprehensive tool set for you to go through and start planning, preparing, strategizing, and getting ready for what's coming in C4. But man, there's so much happening across Star Atlas. Some updates to Starbase, keeping those operations and logistics going, grinding out in HoloSim, grinding my character levels in Unreal Engine. Now I'm farming Ink. I'm going to be bringing into Sage. Just rolled out the C4 development toolkit. So obviously Zinc all on the side there. And so, and we just open sourced Starframe. So for the developers out there, now you have access to a new developer framework to work on. A lot of things, a lot of moving parts, a lot of stuff happening.
Yes, absolutely massive town hall. 2 hours. I know, Michael, you have to leave for a call, but this was incredible. I know we didn't hype it up a lot, but still a lot of things just came out of this town hall. So we'll probably have a couple of brews just trying to digest the everything that we just shared. So it's going to be fun.
Afia already has their town hall report out. Pretty incredible. Nice work. Fun.
Rapaziada, vou ter que rever, inclusive, essa live aí pra ver os detalhes. Também a gente acessar o site, né? O site tá... Eles mandaram no chat. Eu vou mandar pra vocês aí na...
Like you said, I think
chat também.
we'll have some brews and we'll jump into some of those questions. Of course, guys out there, feel free to drop us questions anytime in Discord. Appreciate you joining us today, spending a couple of hours with us here.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining, everyone. And now we'll leave you with a little community ad from a community legend.
É isso. Então, muita novidade. Muito complexo, né? Hoje não entendi quase nada, mas a gente vai atrás. E vai atrás de informação aí para fazer os nossos movimentos para quando o C4 chegar, a gente está preparado para jogar, beleza? Enquanto isso, estava jogando aqui o Craft World, para quem tem curiosidade aqui, eu tô no level 141. E eu tô fabricando aqui um monte de parafuso, tá vendo? Ó, parafuso. E aí, cara, tô no farm aqui, beleza? Eu enxergo um pouco de status nisso aqui, né? Por ser um jogo de craftar, de minerar. Então, eu acho bem legal. E... quem não viu o vídeo, deu ver, já tem outro saindo aí, ainda tem que terminar de editar, mas tá ficando bem legal também, viu? Então, ó, deixa eu ver quantos parafusos aqui, ó, 2, 4, 6 parafusos. E aí é isso. Eu posso chegar aqui também e vender, né? Vou vender logo 6 aqui. Deixa eu ver quanto é que tá. 1.800. Deixa eu ver. 310, né? Eu vou vender 6 desse aqui. E fé. Não caiu ainda na conta. Será que falhou? Não, tá pendente ainda aqui. Aí, caiu na conta. É isso. Valeu, rapaziada. Muito obrigado pela audiência. Tamo junto. Valeu, falou, tchau.